Are you a coach who's tired of drowning in complex marketing strategies? Welcome to Simple Client Attraction for Coaches, the bite-sized podcast that transforms how women coaches attract their ideal clients without the complicated systems or endless marketing tasks. I'm your host, Sandra Fidelis, and each episode I bring you straight talking conversations with successful coaches and industry experts who share their most effective and simple client attraction strategies. Subscribe now and discover how to fill your practice with dream clients in less time than it takes to enjoy your morning coffee. Thank you once again for joining me. I am really excited to talk to this amazing lady. Her name is JJ Muenz, and she's going to speak to us today about how to quantum leap your identity to create an unrecognizable reality. So JJ Muenz is an alchemizer and transmuter of lower density. She helps women tap into versions of themselves that create more joy and prosperity through the power of hypnosis, belief, recoding, and subconscious programming. So you know this is going to be a very juicy conversation. So welcome.
Thank you. It's so fun to just continue, blending our energies and bringing the message out to more humans.
Let me just start with this. I absolutely believe in what you're talking about. Before I hit, record, I asked you what are we going to get into when we have this conversation about this? And you said that it's really about, it's not about going out there and looking for clients. It's about magnetizing with your energy. So it's hard for people to understand that when they're in desperation mode for clients, when they are, I don't know, maybe even starting a business. Can you speak to what you mean by being magnetic to clients?
Yeah. And I so understand that because everybody starts that way. Everybody starts with, they're like, what am I even doing? You get a certification, you become this thing, and then it becomes about business and how do you create an income from it? And I went through all of that, and it was really good because I kept remembering, why did you get started? That's like the main question I kept asking myself whenever I got caught up in what I believe society and lower frequency energy tries to suck us into, which is the third dimension. It's like money and debt and all that. But when you're on an ascension and you know that all those things are kind of, you can put your blinders on and keep moving towards what you're trying to get to, which is just being more authentic, more truthful with yourself, in a sense of trusting yourself more and growing like this sense of intuitive mastery. You don't care about that stuff anymore because you know what's coming. And anytime you dip, like, if your income dips or your debt becomes greater than your income, you know that that's just lower frequency stuff happening that you can see, but that if you continue on your ascension model, you can create the abundance and tap into prosperity consciousness whenever you want.
Okay. So what would be your advice other than, reaching out to you personally for somebody who is in that lower, dense plane, for them to kind of shift out of it and start to experience some of this more, I guess you could call it more of a flow and having that trust? I think the trust is the hardest part for people.
Oh, it is. The trust, the certainty, and you have it at some points and then you waver. Like someone might say, oh, you should try this, or you get a new opinion from somewhere else. And all of a sudden you're questioning what your purpose is, even though you were clear a week ago. So it makes sense. And that's why when you develop a state of self-trust, you don't waver so much in these opportunities that come to you. You can easily say, no, not for me, or that's exactly where I'm going. So to give tips for people who are in that place right now is, a mentor a while ago told me, what would you do if no one would be mad at you and money wasn't even relevant? And I was like, oh, it's such a funny phrasing, but it helps women because we are conditioned and programmed to really be shamed for being expressive and vulnerable and authentic. And we are conditioned not to trust ourselves. It makes sense why we don't. So you just override the system by writing down what you know to be true about yourself. Write down what you believe would happen if you were to amass a certain level of wealth and who would be mad at you. And then you work yourself through these journaling exercises, and you'll come to find out that all these thoughts you thought turned into beliefs, and that you can override them with new thoughts, new beliefs. And then you realize that everything in your current reality is just equal to the level of thoughts that you have right now.
Are you somebody who works with prayer, or, like, how is it that you access your guides to help you, kind of move through these difficult, parts of your business?
I am clairaudient, so I hear things, and I'm a fast manifester, and it's crazy. Like, I am shocked at how fast it comes in, but I also know that because I say that, it happens. So me even just expressing I'm a fast manifester makes it true.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm like tapping into my guides, it happens fast. I don't need a lot of hours. I don't need a lot of alone time to let them come in. I just have a focused 10 minutes throughout the day, and I remind myself to say certain things that I want to have happen. So, for example, I love saying, I expect a miracle today. I expect a miracle today. And I say it often. And they usually happen in 3 tiers, where like the first miracle is I'm looking down at the ground and there's a rainbow shooting through the window. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if that was the miracle. I'm like, that is beautiful. And then the next miracle is you get an email and it's like, oh, you get a $50 refund from some subscription that's automatically turned off, that you have no idea how it got turned off. And I'm like, whoa, such a cool miracle. And then the third is like a past client coming in from years ago who's like, I want to sign up for private mentorship. And you're like, okay, what? And I had a client call a week ago, and she was having so many sales come in that she was having panic, and her nervous system was completely dysregulated. And she was like, I wanted to be like, stop, because it was like too much at one time. And I said to her, let's just regulate your nervous system so it doesn't feel so foreign for these large numbers to come in. And we do have the ability to stop the flow of abundance as much as we do have the ability to allow it and surrender to it. And
isn't it so crazy how the wave of abundance is something that can throw us off, throw our nervous system off? How was it that you actually implemented this into your own life? What's the story?
I realized that I've been doing all the things without knowing what I was doing my entire life. So I started out in the industry as a health coach in 2012, and all I was doing was working on inner child healing. And these women were losing weight, and it was like success after success. And the last thing we did was talk about food or food diaries. And I was like, that's interesting. And then I went into helping people discover what their gifts were. And what I realized was that we were just also working on things that an uncle said when they were 12 years old about how they weren't smart enough to do something. And so then we were working on that. And I realized that majority of success comes from believing you're worthy of it, first of all, and trusting yourself to make these intuitive action steps, whether they're big or small, and just knowing that you're here for something greater than just mediocrity. And that tends to be the women I work with that know they have like that it factor. They're like, I don't know what it is, but I know I have it, and I want to figure out what I need to get or like move past so I can see what I already have to create more of it. And when you were asking, when it really locked in for me was I got really sick with toxic mold for 5 years on and off. I didn't know what it was. And I started studying energy medicine, the subconscious. And I was like, am I creating the symptoms or is it the actual mold? And usually it's both. But through the subconscious reprogramming, I was able to get off the loop of you're going to be sick forever. This is going to kill you. And I was able to create a healing within my cellular system. And I was like, whoa, if you can do this for health, why couldn't you do it for every avenue?
Yeah. And so
And
did you kind of shift into helping women in other areas like business?
I have been working with women in their businesses since like maybe for 8 years now. And it continues to evolve into wealth consciousness now.
What do you think is the biggest sort of block that your clients come up against when they're trying to make themselves more visible, or, like you mentioned that it factor, right? I know I have something really special to share. I have this message, or I have this container. What do they really bump up against when they're wanting to put themselves out there?
There's several things they bump up with. One is thinking they need to speak or look a certain way whenever they show up on social media. It's comparison when they see someone else doing something. They might try to emulate it, but then it comes off as inauthentic. Their voice is a huge factor. I can tell immediately when someone is dehydrated or in pain or just feeling really fatigued. So a big piece is working on the expansion of energy. And in order to hold people's gifts and in order to help them ascend to a new frequency, your energy has to be the most important focus of your life. To do this work, like to be a mentor, to be a coach, to be a guide, your energy is the most important asset. So what I find is that they'll lead an international retreat and then they'll burn out, or they'll take on 5 new private clients and they'll stop marketing for anything. So it's like woo, up the roller coaster, down the road. So there has to be this neutral energy along the way. And another piece that really comes up is with most healers not feeling good about charging a certain amount of money.
That's huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially, I hate to say it, but especially women. I work with, some men, and I find that it's much easier for them to go up to that, the price that they really want to charge. Us women have to kind of, do it gradually. And so the women who quantum leap their businesses that work with you, what do they do?
So they already have the bare bones down. They're already marketing, they're already emailing, they're already posting regularly. They are good at most likely a lot of things in their business, but they're tapped out. Like they know they're not doing their higher self work. They know that they're kind of just good at everything. And what we do is when you're speaking, I'm focused in on the frequency that you speak in. So when a client's like, yeah, I can do sales, I'm really good at marketing, I could focus on that. I probably should. And I'm like, whenever I hear should, I know it's like an external thing coming in, an external opinion. And then when they're like, but I really love, and they say this one thing, it's like they don't even realize they can develop an entire business from just one thing. And so when they go full, their energy just, I had one gal, she was at like 6 figures. And then the next year dipped down way far to like 54. And she was just like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to be doing. And working through a lot of her thing was like a lot of family things, a lot of family ties. Am I who my mom says I am? Am I who my sister says I am? And it makes me not want to be so visible. and I'm scared that my friends are going to get jealous. And I don't really, and then once all of that went to the side, she ended the year at like 370. And that was within 12 months. But the beauty isn't only the wealth that comes from it. It's like watching someone quantum leap and transform from, I picture them like with their head down on a desk and kind of like slumping around like Snoopy. And then when they go into their full higher self purpose, they are like on top of a mountain and the chest is out and their hair's blowing in the wind. And it's what I see. And I'm like, whoa. And that's the funnest part. And all the other stuff is just the extra bonuses on top, but it's like the internal transformation I'm like a junkie for.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's one area that I absolutely love. I mean, obviously I love speaking. I love, doing interviews, and I started my business like that back in 2012. I started in 2012 as well. And I started with like a bunch of telesummits, and like I was just, in my zone. And I stopped doing it, and I felt like I have to do this type of marketing. And we get so caught up, right? In that, because what feels fun and easy, we feel like it shouldn't feel that fun and easy to make a lot of money, right? There's something in there that's, telling us that
it should be harder.
Yeah. It should be harder to make money. So, yeah, we've got a lot of stuff that, we have the opportunity to work through. So where can everyone learn a little bit more about you?
Website, jmuenz.com. I like to keep it really simple.
Is there anything that if you could just, say one thing that you want people to take away?
If you want it, you can have it. And the clearer you are on what you want, the easier it is to be delivered to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Simple Client Attraction for Coaches. I hope today's bite-sized strategies have given you practical ideas you can implement right away in your coaching business. If you'd like to watch the video of our interview, then head on over to simpleclientattractionforcoaches.com. It's the name of the podcast.com. Did you find value in today's episode? If so, please share it with other coaches in your network who could benefit from these straightforward, bite-sized strategies. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us. Until next time, remember, client attraction doesn't have to be complicated. Small, consistent actions can lead to remarkable results. I'll see you on our next episode with more simple strategies to help your coaching business thrive.